are still a little bit ahead of schedule. Is everybody back? It's not a bad thing to be ahead of schedule if y'all are ready to go. I think it looks that way. Well, we'll get started. I've just got a couple of things to share with you all about professionalism, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Alexander and our students, which are probably the best resources for you about professionalism. But what I want to talk about is, why is professionalism important to you? You all have been students in one capacity or another for a couple of years at a minimum, and in some cases much longer than that. So what's different now versus what you've experienced in the past? So I want to give you just part of the perspective. You're going to spend the afternoon talking about why this is important to you, but this is just a few things to think about. Before I get started, I know individually we went through and said, where's everybody from and all that, but show of hands, how many of you are new to Johnson City? Okay, that's more. Good half anyway. I just encourage you all to talk to one another. There's lots of folks who are from this area or went to school in this area that know a lot of fun things to do. But you can see some of the things up there on the screen. Lots of great kayaking opportunities. I don't think it's on there. There's the race. Where's my race fan? Got the race right here for you. The Tweetsy Trail for the runners and bikers in the room is another great place to go. It's a Rails to Trails. It's actually connected now to ETSU, that you can run all the way from ETSU past Elizabethton. So it's over 10 miles one direction and come back. So it's just a neat opportunity to get out and do some things. I was out this weekend with the family, and we did kind of a grand western North Carolina tour, but I didn't realize Grandfather Mountain's like 50 miles from here. So like in less than an hour you can be at Grandfather Mountain. So there's just a lot of great things to do out here. That doesn't really have anything to do with professionalism. I just wanted to, another Chamber of Commerce plug, I guess. In terms of, why professional, why is it important? One thing I want you to think about is competition. We competed to get you here, and you competed to get here. So that's really important. But the competition's not over. It's over in this classroom, though. I don't know how competitive your undergraduate institutions were, if you sort of felt that competition and you were competing for a spot in a college or school of pharmacy, but that's not how it is here. You're all in the same boat. You've got the same classes at the same time. You'll have exams at the same time, which really makes things easier in a sense. So when I talk about competition, I'm not talking about between you all. I'm talking about in the future, as you're going to be competing for jobs and things like that. So we competed to get you here, but we compete for experiential education sites. And you'll learn more about that. I think it's Thursday. So you'll start it, you used to say, well, that'll be your fourth year, but that actually starts early on. So we want you to have the best opportunities at the best sites with the best pharmacists to train with, and we compete with other colleges and schools of pharmacy for those sites. So your level of performance and professionalism impacts whether or not we're able to get those sites and keep those sites. So that's important for your future. But then ultimately you're going to be competing for jobs and residencies. And if you think about all 140 plus colleges and schools of pharmacy in the country, if you graduate and you have a doctor of pharmacy degree, I think there's sort of an expectation that you have knowledge and skills. There's sort of you're all on a level playing field, so to speak. But what sets you apart is that professionalism piece and your reputation. The reputation of you personally and the reputation of this college. And that goes a long, long way. And we've started to grow a national reputation. I mentioned, just a couple of weekends ago, we got another national award, being the best in the country at something else. Actually gave the students in the SNAPA chapter a hard time because they won, I think it was 7 major awards, and now have 2 national officers. And I asked them, I said, did you leave anything for anybody else to win? Because it didn't seem like it with all the notifications that we kept getting all weekend of their awards. So know that there's a really positive reputation already out there. But put it in slightly more local perspective, these are some of the folks that you're going to be competing against for rotation sites that are just kind of in this area where potential employers will see them and see you too and have that kind of head-to-head comparison. So in order to maintain and attract those preceptors and to make sure that sites want you above all others, because they can decide to give us priority or to give us the leftovers. And we want you to have the priority, and you impact that much more than we can. And I want you to be able to distinguish yourselves, and want you to realize that you're judged individually, but you're judged as a whole. You're all Gatton College of Pharmacy students. So if one of you is doing well, you're all doing well, and if one of you's not, that reflects negatively on the entire class and the college. So how can you compete successfully? There's no longer a pharmacist shortage. There was a time when there were cars and sign-on bonuses and free laptop computers and things like that, and those days are gone. So you do have to set yourself apart, and there are lots of opportunities within the curriculum and the co-curriculum here to give you the opportunity to set yourself apart, whether it's getting a dual degree or research concentration or being involved in those student organizations. So when the time comes, you have a lot to talk about. It's not just that baseline, I've got these knowledge and skills. I'm up here because of these experiences that I've had. So I encourage you to take advantage of that and be really engaged while you're with us. And you're going to hear more about the policies and the specifics. I don't want to go into that, but I also want you to remember and understand that you're ambassadors. You're ambassadors for yourself. You're representing yourself, and it starts today, but you're also representing this class. And even individual classes can get a reputation, positively or negatively. So you're representing this Gatton College of Pharmacy class of 2022, but you represent the college as a whole, but you're also representing the profession as a whole. And you're an ambassador for an entire profession. And it's really important that you rise to that challenge and represent us all very well. I don't know how many of you remember some of the things that I talked about on interview day, but remember how this college got started and that community support that we have. People in this area know about us and supported us. And if you're out in the community in your Gatton College of Pharmacy t-shirt, don't be surprised if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I'm really proud of that college, or I help support that college, but also know that they're watching you and potentially judging how you're behaving when you're out in the community. So just know that you're in a really high profile college, especially in this region. So some of the things that you'll hear about today are ethical standards, and the most important thing is our obligation to patients. And everything that we talk about really comes down to that. I'm talking about some kind of selfish things about want to make sure you get a job, and those are all important, but it really comes down to how you present yourself and how well that means you can take care of your patients. Because if you don't have credibility, then when you try to make a recommendation to a physician to change a prescription, or even to a patient that you're trying to educate, if they don't trust you, then it doesn't matter how much you know or what you can do, you're not going to have a good outcome. So that's really the bottom line. This really is an honorable profession that you've chosen. So it's really important that you recognize that responsibility that you have to society as a whole, that you literally will have patients' lives in your hands. And that means more than just knowledge. So, when you think about being a pharmacist, it's not just a job, and it's not just a career, it's a profession. And again, the students and Dr. Alexander are going to talk with you about what does that mean to be in a profession, to be part of a profession. So you'll spend the afternoon talking about that, but it's different. It goes beyond getting a paycheck for sure. So something else, I mentioned that competition among you is over. You're not competing with one another anymore. You're all in the same boat. So I hope that you guys will really, bond together and support each other and help each other be the best that you can be, whether it's when you're studying together and preparing for exams, or trying out new skills that you're learning before you're being assessed on those, or if it's from a professionalism perspective, when you might need to have a talk with one of your classmates to say, you may not realize how this is coming across, but you're not representing yourself in the best light. And I hope that you'll have those kinds of relationships with one another, so you all can rise together. As the better your classmates perform and the better your classmates behave, the better it's going to be for you, because again, you're being judged as a group, as a Gatton College of Pharmacy student. So I mentioned being ambassadors. Our foundation and our history is growing. We have about 700 alumni at this point. And those folks are very proud of their alma mater. So there's a lot to live up to from that perspective. But as I said this morning, you're ambassadors, and we want you to be successful as students, but what you do makes a difference about whether or not we as a college continue to be successful. You represent East Tennessee State University as well, and influence that success, and of course the profession as a whole. So all this is about is your success. And if whatever perspective you need to put this into, to embrace what you're going to hear about today and to engage in what you're going to talk about today, think about how important it is to your success and to our success, and to your patients' success and to their health. Because if you're not professional, doesn't matter how much you know, doesn't matter what your skills are, you're not going to be able to have the same kind of outcomes to take care of your patients. I'm going to skip that one. We're the only academic health science center in East Tennessee. And that gives you some opportunities to interact with the other health professions on this campus and across on the main campus as well. So again, there are other opportunities and obligations that you have as you're representing pharmacy as part of a team. So there's that competition again. I haven't talked about, some of the statistics. If you're not on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter yet for the College of Pharmacy, please do that. That's where our news and things go first. If you haven't flipped back through and taken a look at the accomplishments, maybe since the last time you were here, or when you interviewed, lots of things are going. It seems like every week there's some major recognition going on. So, there really is no competition up on this slide compared to you and compared to Gatton College of Pharmacy. So you truly are the best and the brightest, or you wouldn't be here. And we just want to make sure that that you take that and put it to best use. We have some of the best resources and facilities and faculty and staff here in this building and in the building next door. We're here to help you, and we want you to be successful no matter what you do. So if you take all that and you add a great attitude and a strong work ethic, and compassion and responsibility for the patient, then you will be successful. You can't help but be. So with that, I'll say welcome again, and see if you have any questions for me based on that introduction, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Alexander. Any questions? Is it hot in here? Okay. Okay. Make sure it wasn't just me. I'll see if I can't work on that as y'all get started. Dr. Alexander, I'll let you take over. Thank you.
I have some helpers, so I'm going to have them introduce themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks, Dean Bird, for that intro. And we're going to actually kind of discuss in a little more detail different elements of professionalism. So professionalism spans lots of areas. And as she said, since you're in a professional program, all of a sudden this becomes really, really important. The reason I get to come talk to you today is I'm the chair of the Personal and Professional Development Committee here at the college. We do all the programming to help you develop as professionals, as well as to hold you accountable when you fall a little short. So most of the time students don't want to come see me, but this is sort of the more uplifting part of what I get to do, which is sort of to write you the rules ahead of time, so hopefully we don't have problems later on. I've been at the college now. This is my 7th year, so I'm excited to be back for another orientation. It's always an exciting time. So in the back I've got some helpers. We have, I'm trying to see, we've got some newly P2 students, so folks who were just in your seats last year, Parker Wade, Betsy Bayshore, and Anna Brenner, back there, and they all serve on the professionalism committee with me. So as a student, you're able to serve on college level committees. If this is something that interests you, you can actually apply to serve on our committee as well as other committees within the college. Then we have P3 students, Lily Tran in blue, Matt Spence, and Tori Minix, and they are seasoned vets, and they just are really involved and were willing enough to help us. Dr. Collins, who you guys met in his recruitment for his ping pong players, serves on the committee as well. And then we've got Dr. Tyler Melton, who you met this morning, who is an alumni. And so he's going to talk about why this is important from almost like a legacy standpoint. So we're going to try some polling technology. So you want to take out your phone. We're going to try this. It's been giving me a fit this morning, but we are going to see how it goes. So to get started, I already mentioned I'm the chair of the Personal and Professional Development Committee. If you haven't figured this out in pharmacy, we use a lot of acronyms. It's a lot of alphabet soup. So short version is the PPDC. On it serves faculty members from both departments, the Assistant Dean for Student Affairs, Mr. Ellis, who is this morning's MC, he's around here somewhere, and then representatives from all classes. And we'll talk more about that committee later on. But let's start with the definition. So we've talked around professionalism, but what exactly does that mean? So we're going to attempt to use Poll Everywhere, which you actually just join by texting something to a phone number. Let me log in. Oops. Very slowly, apparently. Okay, hang on one sec. Technology. Ugh. All right, let's see. It never works when you want it to work. This is like 101 as a faculty member, how not to crunch under pressure. You have 80 eyeballs, 80 plus eyeballs, and your technology doesn't work. Okay. I'm literally one by one. Yes. Okay. It's a good thing my password. No! Okay. I didn't lose it. Four more. Don't you even. Okay, so it wouldn't let me change it. So text Caitlin Alex A 431 to 22333. Caitlin Alexa 431 to 22333. And what I want you to text after you join the poll is, in one word, how would you define professionalism? And we will see if this works. Is everybody able to join that poll successfully? Anybody? Oh, check this out. All right. Sometimes it takes a minute. All right, so we're seeing some kind of common things. I think we would agree that all of those are definitely indicative of professionalism, and we're going to go through how you can portray those characteristics in different actions. Which brings me to my next set of presenters. So Betsy and Parker, you want to come on up? And we're going to walk through this.
Okay, so defining professionalism. So the definition of professionalism is the possession of or demonstration of structural, attitudinal, and behavioral attributes of a profession and its members. It's a set of core values that includes altruism, caring, honor, integrity, duty, and some other values that we saw on the doodle poll. As a student, you are expected to have academic honesty, integrity, respect, teamwork, responsibility, and reliability. And in the profession of pharmacy specifically, it's the way pharmacists conduct themselves in everyday situations, caring for patients, building and maintaining trusting relationships, demonstrating empathy, and commitment to legal and ethical behavior. So as pharmacy students, we have a few more qualities that fall under our umbrella. A few of them are empathy, communication, mentoring and modeling, extracurricular activities, knowledge, and school culture and environment. To further define professionalism, it's really just about how you conduct yourself. These qualities include holding yourself to high standards, treating others as you want to be treated. How we act when we think no one is looking is a really big one for me. That's just how I try and model professionalism. Following through on commitments and how you want your family to be cared for. So here are the qualities of professionalism as defined by the American Pharmacists Association. Respect, commitment, honesty, and knowledge are some of the largest words and biggest qualities of professionalism. So what does the white coat symbolize to you? And when do you become a professional? Is it when classes start, after graduation, when you're just wearing your white coat, or is it now?
So I think Dean Bird kind of talked about this. Like, as a school, we strive to present a commitment to professionalism from the moment you come to orientation through your white coat ceremony. And we kind of, the main point I felt like during orientation that kind of laid it out for me was when we took the oath of a student pharmacist. So it is kind of what you're going to do when you graduate, but it's the student version, if that makes sense.
We should totally try this, Betsy. Because they get to do it on Friday.
Okay, do y'all want to practice? Okay.
I think it's a good dry run.
Okay,
Right?
so
Let's do it.
let's all start out. As I embark upon the study of pharmacy at the Bill Gatton College of Pharmacy, I will enter into a relationship of mutual respect with my teachers and colleagues in an environment of academic excellence. I will embrace the breadth and depth of the basic and clinical sciences that form the foundation of lifelong learning. I will display the qualities of honesty, integrity, and professionalism that will earn the respect of my patients, my colleagues, my family, and myself. I will evaluate the knowledge, wisdom, and cultural service of pharmacists who have preceded me and will endeavor to further the practice of pharmacy in their tradition. I will maintain the trust expected of a pharmacist and honor the sanctity of the patient-pharmacist relationship. I will respect patient confidentiality and hold sacred the patient's right to privacy. I will place the care of my patients as my foremost responsibility, and I will grow in the profession with conscience and dignity. As a student pharmacist, I will strive to uphold these standards and I advance towards full membership in the profession of pharmacist. See, y'all are going to do great on Friday. And then if y'all want to go, yeah. Yeah, if y'all want to go ahead and one word name an attitude or behavior that is unprofessional. And it's that same code to the same phone number. Yeah, I think these are all really good ones. The main ones are obviously the 4 bigger ones: disrespect, rude, late, and lying. And I think that that's all, they definitely go against the oath we just read and kind of the other stuff we covered earlier in the presentation. And I mean, everyone has bumps in the road, but it's more just you all need to hold yourselves accountable as a whole. And then professionalism is not kind of what y'all said: complaining, negative attitudes, being a non-team player, indifference, lying or dishonesty, unethical or illegal actions, cheating, being obnoxious, being a know-it-all, inappropriate dress, hygiene, or appearance, which we're kind of going to touch on more later in the presentation, bullying, being irresponsible or unreliable. And then professionalism is important because it's an impression of you. It's an impression of the profession of pharmacy. Oh, sorry, Tori.
No, you're good.
Okay, so I'll go back a little bit. So you might be wondering why we have an entire afternoon dedicated to professionalism. It's just that we are asking a lot more of you as professional students, so we put more of an emphasis on it so you know what to expect up front. So like Betsy was getting into, how you will conduct yourself is how others will see you. Peers, faculty, other pharmacists, members of the community, everyone. Your first impression is really important. So how you come off the first time is often how people will see you for the entire time you know them. As a student pharmacist, you're also representing the broader profession of pharmacy. So pharmacists have long been one of the most trusted professions, and we need to keep it that way. Beyond the profession of pharmacy, you also represent the college and the university now, so it's important to maintain our foothold on that. So the way you act is a direct reflection of how the college looks in public. So, when you act unprofessionally, you lose credibility. Others may question your knowledge, commitment, your honesty, and how responsible you are based on your professionalism. So once you lose that, it's hard to gain it back, so it's important to keep it. So, whether it's relationships with patients, other members of the healthcare team, peers, or people that you see in the community, it's really important to maintain your professionalism so people will uphold their values of you and how you embody the attitude of a pharmacist. And then lastly, acting in a professional way shows your commitment. Employers will value people who are dependable and punctual and willing to learn. So when you go out on your rotations, they might turn into job interviews. So it's important to put your best foot forward from the beginning. So you might be thinking, where does professionalism apply? If you thought just on rotations or at work, you're wrong, sorry. Now you're a student, you're a professional student, so it's going to apply everywhere. In the classroom, anytime you're out in the community, you're constantly representing the college now, so it's important to maintain your professionalism. So does professionalism, sorry, you really psyched me out. So does professionalism apply outside of the school? Yes, absolutely. Even if you're out on the weekend, anytime, you represent the college now as well as yourself. So online, presence is really important as well, and then in emails and text messages too. So something to just keep in mind.
So I'm going to talk to you guys about professional image. Outward appearance is very important. Anytime you dress up nice, I'm sure you feel great because you instantly feel more confident and better about yourself. So it's really important to look good because you'll feel good. You want to send the right message, so when you come to school, you don't want to be rolling out of bed just like you barely woke up, you're barely on time. You don't want to be late either. That's really important. So don't come in with like sweatpants or look like you're about to go to the gym or you just came from the gym. It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. So just always make sure you have your best appearance because you want to represent the school. You never know who you'll run into when you're here. and you want to take care of yourself. You don't want to overdo it, but you also don't want to, just roll out of bed, like I said earlier. On the one side, you can see what not to do. On the other side, these are some pictures from our white coat ceremony. So just make sure you dress appropriately, both for class and when you're out in the public representing our school. Men, you guys kind of have it easy. Sorry, guys. I wish I was a guy just so I could just put on a pair of dress pants and a nice shirt. So some things that you do need to do is you want to make sure your shirt fits you appropriately. You don't want to look like you're about to bust out of your shirt. You might be proud of your muscles, but not everybody wants to see you about to bust out of your shirt. So make sure you dress appropriately. You tuck your shirt in. You don't want to come in rolling out of bed or like you just barely put on your dress pants that are all wrinkled and your dress shirt's all wrinkled. So just make sure you tuck in your shirt. On the left hand or right hand side, sorry. The guy in the blue shirt is something you'd wear to like IPPE. On the guy with the suit is maybe something you'd wear more so for an interview. So just keep that in mind for guys. Ladies, we have it a little bit more difficult. We have a lot of outfits to choose from. Business formal is more of like an interview, but you can also wear that just anytime whenever you're trying to be professional. That's wearing more neutral colored clothes, button-up shirts, and your suit jacket and suit pants or a skirt that goes to your knees or 1 inch above your knees. There's also dressy business casual, which is dresses and skirts, but like I said, you want to make sure they're appropriate length. You want to make sure they're only a few inches above your knees, and everything's completely covered. And along with your tops, you don't want to be, keep it concealed, and your shoulders also. You don't want your bra popping out or anything. And then smart casual, that's something you'll also wear for IPPE. So those are like your khaki pants and a nice dress shirt. Not a t-shirt, but a dress shirt, like something that, doesn't have a collar and go. Anyways, sorry.
Sidebar, do they have to wear this to class every day? Like, when I walk into the classroom, is this what I'm expecting to look at?
No, you don't have to wear this every day. I mean, you guys all look great today. You can if you want. You might find 1 or 2 members of your classmates who are like, oh, I'm going to look great every single day. Props to you. I struggle with that sometimes, but you don't want to, like I said, don't roll out of bed coming to class, but what you can wear to class is like jeans and a shirt. T-shirts are fine. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. You don't want to come in wearing a t-shirt that's inappropriate, such as something with a beer logo or something else. You're in a professional program before an undergrad. Yeah, you could roll out of bed and wear your leggings with a t-shirt that like no one cares what you were really wearing. Also, you don't want to wear a t-shirt that covers up your shorts, and you don't want to wear shorts that are too short. No one wants to see your butt hanging out or anything else. So just keep that in mind. Sorry. Maybe you guys are laughing at me. I don't know.
We'll talk more about this. This
Yeah.
is a heated debate, so we'll talk more about attire in a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry to interject.
No, it's okay. I know clothing is a big thing, and that's why it's important to represent our class. Like, how you look, unfortunately, is what the first thing people judge you by, so that's why it's really important to come out as a professional student. You're now in a professional program. You're not an undergrad where, you're not going to be running into employees. I mean, you still could in undergrad, but not as often as you would here. So just keep that in mind and just make sure you dress appropriately. You'll hear a lot about IPPE attire, which is why we touched on those 2 slides, because you will have to wear it for some classes like CPOP. There's also professionalism in the classroom. Respect doesn't just apply to your elders or your superiors, so not just the faculty and staff. It applies to your peers. You want to have respect for each other. It's really important. It'll make your classroom a lot better of an environment to learn in. And you also want to be a team player. Don't just let one person carry the entire load of your work. That's not appropriate for any group. You'll be doing a lot of group projects this coming year, so just keep that in mind and be a team player and listen to what others have to say. And you want to always meet your deadlines. Don't submit papers late. And if a teacher emails you asking you for something, you need to respond appropriately. We'll talk more about that as well. It's just really important that you respond appropriately in the same time manner that you'd expect a teacher to reply back to your email. So just keep that in mind, and we'll talk more about clothes in the small groups.
Thanks, Anna. So we're going to talk about your online presence. How many of you use Facebook? A lot of me, I know, was on the Facebook page. So Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn. Good job, guys. Thanks for not lying to me. So the biggest thing with online presence are watch what you post. There will be people looking whether or not you realize it. So there are some things you don't want to do, such as the don'ts. But the do's are good. So we're just going to go through some pictures, and honestly, this is pretty common sense, but there's always somebody in every class who does something stupid, and then the whole class gets that reputation. So please, 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 watch your online presence. Is this appropriate? Okay, yeah, obviously they're at a bar, they're drinking. Do not post that. This is appropriate. We're at a bar, we won trivia night, and we didn't post ourselves drinking, though. So we just won trivia. That's all we were doing. But it's appropriate because it doesn't show alcohol. We're not, yeah. Anyway, this is appropriate. Nope. Instead, show a good group photo. Shows that you're having fun. Does that look appropriate? No. Do not post those pictures. This is a good photo from fraternities, sororities, anything like that. That is okay to post. Again, nope, not appropriate. Instead, they are drinking beer, but they're doing it at a brewery. They look nice, and they're not drinking in excess. Steer away from these kind of pictures, but this is fine. Does that look appropriate? Honestly, this isn't much more appropriate, but it's a good picture of Dr. Cluck, so that is okay to post. So just go home, clean up your Facebooks, your Instagrams, LinkedIn's, Snapchat. If there's anything to clean up, hopefully you don't have anything you have to, but please do, because somebody somewhere will find something if you leave it out there. And now Lily's going to come talk to you.
All right, so raise of hands. How many people have been involved in an extracurricular activity, whether it be a professional organization, a sport, or a fraternity, sorority in undergrad? So you guys did all of this stuff, right, to make yourself competitive to get into pharmacy school. And that was the goal, right, to get into pharmacy school, to get here. But now your goal is to be a professional, right, a pharmacist. So your end goal now has changed. So part of that is being involved and getting involved in organizations at school. Our school is really great at having so many organizations considering how big our school is. And it's a great way for you guys to, network, get to meet other students at other schools, and then also practice doing what you're going to be doing, once you're off on your own. So we have a lot of professional organizations at our school. We have 2 fraternities, and then we also have a lot of committees that you guys can be a part of. So I just encourage you guys to go ahead, get involved, make the most out of your pharmacy school experience. You guys are going to be here for 4 years, 3 years in the classroom. So what is it that you're going to remember while you're here? Is it going to be sitting in the classroom, listening to teachers lecture to you? Or is it going to be, getting involved, going out, making a difference in the community, and getting to know your classmates and upperclassmen? So just keep that in mind. Make sure you participate, and then you guys will get an opportunity to meet all the organizations tomorrow too. So I just encourage you guys to kind of get to know them, see what they have to offer, because there are so many different facets of pharmacy that you guys aren't currently aware of that are available, and that we can help you kind of get to know and get to learn. So that way you get to find where your niche is in pharmacy, okay? So being a leader. So being a leader and professionalism really go hand in hand. Since I've started pharmacy school here, I've had the honor of playing a lot of leadership roles at the school. I was the P1 class president. I was also our, there are a lot. I was also our pledge educator and delegate for my fraternity. I was the co-chair for Operation Heart and Diabetes for APHA, then got to be president-elect last year, and I am the APHA ASP chapter president this year.
I am the SSHP treasurer, and I am also the coordinator of the Student Ambassador program. So I am highly involved at the school. I think I got all of them. But being a leader isn't always about having a title. And I think that's what a lot of people forget about. It's not always having the title of being a leader, but just being a leader itself. So being a leader is not by the title, it's by the actions. So making sure that you are encouraging others and growing others as a professional and a leader is really what makes you a leader. So just remember that. Remember to build each other up, especially when pharmacy school gets really tough. Exams got you kind of beat down, and teachers or professors really have you kind of worn out. Just remember that, part of being a leader is making sure to raise everyone up, encourage each other to get to the finish line. So, and then also being involved in fraternities, organizations, and being a leader also really gives you the opportunity to meet other people in other schools. So with my experiences, I've gone to meet people from across the nation at other colleges of pharmacy, and they're still some of my really closest friends. So I talk to them on a weekly, monthly basis, and I wouldn't have gone those opportunities had I not tried to make the most out of my pharmacy school experience. So I just encourage you guys, find something that you're passionate about, find something that you really want to do, and then take that and run with it. So keep building upon what you've already started and get yourself a good basis for when you're a professional in the profession.
This is my class. I think it is. Yeah, they're right.
It is.
Yeah.
I put the
Sorry.
archives for that picture.
I didn't have one of myself. That's me. Sorry. It's a really good feeling when you're standing there. Y'all will be there in 4 years. I graduated in 2012. I started in 2008. I kind of had an interesting journey coming back here. It really is a family. People say that. It sounds like it's savvy, but it really is. Like, these are the people that are going to get you through the next 4 years. And then they kind of carry you through when you start to practice as a professional. There's a lot of people who I've called in the different areas that I practice in pharmacy that are more of an expert than I was, that I either went to school with or that they were a year or two ahead of me, and they've guided me appropriately with that. Our class was the third class to graduate. So I didn't really realize people would come behind us. That sounds weird, but you guys are woven into those that are before you and those that come after you. So being a part of the family is supporting those that are coming up behind you and just making sure that they're living up to the name and the expectation. With it being a new school, and people not really knowing who we were and what the students' strengths would be as a school, we kind of had to fight for that hard. And I think we have a great reputation now as a preceptor and having students from ETSU and hearing them say things like, the students from ETSU are fantastic, they're on point. And I'm not telling you that to stress you out, but everything that they've talked about up to this point, you need to listen to it. Like, really go into your APPs and your IPPs and know that you may wind back up in your IPP like I did in your 4th year, and them say, like, it would be great if you would want to work here or something like that. It's like a job interview. So if you treat all of those experiences like a job interview, you're really not going to fail with it. That's kind of it. Just be good at what you do. You'll find what you're passionate about and what you want to do, and then pursue it. But be the lifelong learner. It's really raining out there too. Sorry, it's a quarterly moment, but gosh, and it does that like every day this time too. So right now, anyways, be the lifelong learner. Learn the points that you need to learn. You will fall out of. I don't know how to say that. Your information will become dated far quicker than what you realize. And so when you graduate, you have it great for a couple of years, 2 or 3, and then you really have to work at staying up to date with it. And that's where having these connections with people, maybe not even who are alumni from your school, but from other places that you've networked with, can kind of step in and help you with that. And social media, I'm sorry. Just really listen to that with social media, like clean it up, make sure it's appropriate, and you need to keep it appropriate probably for the rest of your life. That would be my options for you. There's some employers that will go through your social media and look at it, and I have been on hiring committees where the social media has not gotten people the job, and that's not really fair to say, but people do really become fixated on the image, and you do have to live up to it. So y'all are going to do great. Everybody looks good today.
But the alumni have expectations of you.
Yeah.
So we got to rise to the occasion.
Beat y'all wet noodles.
Well, after that, we are going to do a little bit of a debrief. We figured we can talk to you all day about this. Honestly, I feel like you know it. It's just maybe how we're framing it. So what we're going to do, we're going to get you up. You're going to move, wake up a little bit. After like the clap of thunder that introduced Dr. Melton there. His reputation precedes him. So I need about 16 people to go right across the hall into room 105 there. Any takers? We're going to talk about 4 distinct areas of professionalism. Communication, social media, attire, and something else I'm forgetting. Classroom etiquette. So 16 of you across the hall. Once that room's filled, go to the one beyond it. That's mirror image. So Lily, how many people I had there? Probably about 16. All right, I need about 16 others. And then I need a decent-sized group of people to go to the other large classroom on the other end. And we are going to rotate, so you all get to talk about all of these things. You can leave all your stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Leave your stuff. Yeah, somebody is staying in here. So if you don't feel like moving, you can also stay here too. Yeah, if you all, this side wants to kind of stay, you all want to hang out, there's no right way to do this. It's an imperfect science. Organized chaos, as we like it. Are you rolling the dice? Okay, you guys are bailing. Okay, all right, Tyler, come on up. I gotta find my... It is important, and it just doesn't really fit necessarily anywhere else. So that's how, here in orientation, we kind of spend some time. Any comments or anything that came up that you feel like would be good for the good of the group to hear? I feel like we probably all got most of the same content. Yes, ma'am?
Can you explain this last chunk?
Sure. If you turn to your schedule, that multicolor block thing, the Tetris game. So tomorrow is mostly student services. I think Wednesday is academic affairs. Thursday morning is experiential programming. So I'll actually be back to talk to you. But those gray boxes on Wednesday and Friday afternoons are dedicated towards what we're going to talk about on Thursday morning. You're not in class every day from 1 to 5 on Wednesdays and Fridays. It's sort of on an as-needed basis, and it's within small groups. So not all of you will be there all 8 hours. It's going to be sort of as scheduled, but I would make sure that you double check your schedule and don't yet commit to anything, especially work right now, because we do use a good fraction of it. On Thursday afternoons, there's 2 courses, and they, the blue one, communication skills, meets every other week, depending on which one you're assigned to, which you'll find out here shortly. The IPE section is interprofessional education, and it meets 4 times with only half the class coming. So each of you will go to 2 different sessions on 2 days. And it's offset from your communications, healthcare communications course. So it's going to take a little bit of logistical planning to get the afternoons right. Your mornings are always routine. It's always the same classes. But those afternoons are a little more flexible and they're as scheduled. Does that answer your question, Caitlin? Okay.
What time frame that 4 times is that in the semester? Or?
Yes.
Okay, so just 4 times during the semester, only with half the class.
Yes. So communications runs, so D2L is our learning platform that we have. There will be a schedule posted to it. They may talk about it during another section of orientation that I'm not at, but it's an every other week section within the 16-week semester. And then those IPE days are in between September into the first week of October, and you'll be scheduled, and we'll talk about that on Thursday morning. Did I have another question? Yes, sir?
Yeah, so Dr. Collins mentioned that on this group page, groups 1 through 9 are group A.
Yes.
So that will affect our schedule on Mondays.
Let's look.
Because on Monday we have the ideals, I think, that's represented, so we A, B, depending on the time. All right. That's good.
Yes. So you will be assigned to either Group A or Section A or Section B on Monday. So again, you're not going to come for both of those. You'll come for one or the other. But you'll have to come to your assigned time. I don't know how they determine who's in what block. Oh, your learning groups, ones are... See, I don't make these calls. I don't know. Okay. So, is it Jonathan?
Or Thomas, or JP.
You're trouble. Whatever they told you, I'm sure is right, but I don't know. Because that's not my course. I don't know. I'm sorry. Any other questions about the schedule? Yes, ma'am.
The IPPs we do like during the week, are those like more like simulations we do, or are those actual rotations?
So the question was, the gray boxes that say IPPE, are those rotations or are those other things? And during the school year, they're other things. So we're going to talk about this on Thursday morning, but basically, during the school year, we do something called longitudinal IPPE, where we prep you for the rotations that you go out on off-site. The rotations happen over the summer. So the summer following this year, from May to August, you'll go out on a 2-week rotation at a community pharmacy. The subsequent summer, you'll spend 2 weeks in a hospital and a week with a clinical pharmacist. So everything that happens during the year is getting you prepared for those experiences or other sort of skills-based, but it's experiential curriculum, which is very broad. But I coordinate a lot of that. So you'll get a much more in-depth look at what that content, what those block days will include on Thursday morning. Okay? You feel okay? So we're going to talk through professionalism and ensuring professionalism. And I'm going to try to get a good read on how well you guys are holding on to this. And honestly, I don't think we're going to use the technology because I think we can move through this quickly. So the whole point of this next section is to talk through accountability and what you all think is how we should enforce professionalism, or it's not really enforce, how we should uphold professionalism. So just like any good law and order system, there's checks and balances, right? So we have expectations, but then we also have to have some sort of policy or something that happens if you don't meet expectations. It's that two sides of the balance. So I want to get your input on what this might look like, because largely my committee is the one that sort of makes those calls. And there's a lot of gray area, and students generally do not ever have to make calls on what to do, but I'm just curious to see what your perspective would be on how we could handle things. Oh heck, let's just try it with the technology. So, you should have already joined my poll. So let's try this one. So the question's up top. Are students frequently on their phone during lecture, lab, or rotation? Acceptable or not? What if you're looking things up on a drug information app? What if you have a sick baby at home and you've got to check with the babysitter on how they're doing? So again, there's gray area. In general, I really don't want to lecture and have you guys looking at your phones all the time, but there might be some cases where you have to. That's fine. Be discreet about it, or just let me know. That's just kind of the best practice. If you're going to have to be on call, if you're going to have to step out to take a phone call because your cable company is being super slow to come in and do their install, that's fine. I understand. I have a life. Just let me know. So it's sort of that dual accountability. Let's take it, what about a faculty member frequently on their phone? So you're in a meeting or a presentation and the faculty member is always on their phone. Yeah, in general that's unacceptable, but what if they have a patient at clinic who's in crisis mode and they have to respond to the team about what to do? Yeah, it's not great for anybody to be on their phone all the time, but the responsibility that I have versus the responsibilities that you all have is a little different. And so, yes, I'd like to think that I'm not on my phone shopping Amazon Prime Day, but sometimes duty calls, you know? So what we're trying to say is we have a culture where we really want to hold people to a professional standard. We also have to be a little understanding of responsibilities. And so I would expect that of you, just like you expect that of me. We kind of give each other a little grace. And probably the best way to handle it is just like with the student example to say, so I've got this going on, sorry I'm on my phone, and kind of ask for forgiveness. Okay, how about this one? Student routinely takes selfies and posts to social media during student organization activities, rotations, maybe during lab. Oh man, no selfies? Oh. So you guys all think that this is totally acceptable. I love selfies. Would you have to be careful of what's in them? Yeah, absolutely. So please don't be taking selfies when I'm teaching or trying to give you instructions on how to do something. So in a couple weeks, you guys will learn how to give vaccinations. I don't mind if you take a selfie of your first time you give a shot. Just maybe let everybody know and do it in a good way where we're not going to have a needle stick or a problem. Maybe just give like a success thumbs up at the end. If you're dealing with a patient, make sure that it's not a HIPAA violation. Make sure that everybody's given consent, that you're not posting something that patient hasn't consented to. We have to be careful with confidentiality and privacy. Maybe don't take it during the time when your preceptor is asking you to do something, but doing it right does not necessarily mean it's off limits. Does that make sense? Okay, let's try another one. Let's see just how tough you guys are. Classmate is caught cheating on an exam. What should the penalty be? Okay. This is where my committee basically comes in and intervenes. So if there's an issue of academic misconduct, which cheating is one of those things, our committee will ultimately follow up with that. And honestly, it depends. So if a student, if it's not actual cheating, sometimes what you and I perceive to be something isn't anything at all, then we, maybe there is no penalty if it's an accusation but not real. We do not go into grades. My committee cannot go into grades, so I can't make someone fail a course. That's at the purview of each individual faculty member. But there has to be some accountability. This is basically just to show that there's lots of things that influence decisions and reasons why people do what they do. Is cheating acceptable? No, but there's lots of different ways to handle it. I'm glad none of you said dismissal from the program, because I'd like to think that we all get a little grace every once in a while, and there's ways to improve that. But please know that cheating is not tolerated. flat. Okay, let's skip that one. Let's try this guy. If a faculty member makes a joke in class at the expense of another student who gets visibly upset, what should you do? Okay. So, you probably should do something. I'd agree with you. I think anytime you have a scenario where you witness something, your response is just as important as what you observe. So you need to make sure that even if you're trying to address a problem, that you're not also creating a problem or being the problem yourself. So calling the professor out on the spot, I tell you, is probably not going to go very well for you. It's not going to look very good. The best thing is probably to contact your mentor, contact myself, let me know about the situation, and then we'll figure out how to handle it. It's one of those sort of subordinate superior interplays, and that can sometimes get a little messy. So don't put yourself in the middle of a complicated situation, but it's really important that you still speak up, because we all need to be held accountable. It's not just students, it's faculty too. Let's skip that one. Let's try this one. Almost done. So student shows up 15 minutes late to rotation every single day. What does the preceptor do? So if the expectation is that you show up on time at a given time, then there probably needs to be some accountability to doing that. If the preceptor says loosely, hey, just show up, between this time and that time, and they sort of don't set the expectation that there is a prompt arrival time, then maybe you don't do anything. Again, seeing the gray area, but it's important that accountability is held, and being late is not good behavior. It just doesn't paint you in a good light. If you show up to my exam late, we'll wait until you get here. Did this happen in your class, Matt?
I'm pretty sure somebody was coming in late and he told me to not go as fast so that they could get there before I finished.
So sometimes I'll wait. We don't start until everybody's here, and it's not to put you on the spot, but it's basically to say I can't maintain the integrity of my exam if not everybody's here. Now, if it's like 30 minutes, obviously I'm not going to penalize you for that, but it's an accountability piece of, hey, that's the expectation, everybody else is here, I need to be here too. Okay, last one. Faculty member sees you walking into the building wearing sweatpants and flip-flops, stop you, point out that when you're in violation of the dress code, probably should go home and change. Is that appropriate? All right. Interesting. So a quarter of you said no, 3/4 said yes. So anyone brave and wants to give their rationale or what should be done? This is an open conversation. Just talking through things. Yeah.
You could have a change of professional clothes in your locker.
Okay. So maybe ask you to change.
Yeah.
Not go home and change, but change it into something that you have with you. Okay. Is it too stern to tell you that you're in flip-flops and sweatpants and you need to leave? Yeah?
I think it depends on how many times you've been out there compared to others. Like if it's your first time, asking somebody to turn around and go home might be a little bit excessive, or even operating under the assumption that somebody has another change of clothes in their car.
Okay.
So maybe like a verbal warning or a written warning or something of that nature before you.
I think that's very fair. We make mistakes, and there are a lot of times honest mistakes, and if you don't know, maybe you didn't realize. So yeah, I think the take home is it's my responsibility, just kind of like a parent with a child. I want the best for you. And sometimes that means I have to call you out when things aren't going the way they should. And it's not that I don't like you, and it's not that I don't want the best for you. It's ultimately to make you better. And so that's the position that sometimes we find ourselves in. But it's important that, again, we have that accountability and there's set expectations. Because if we aren't consistent with our expectations, stuff falls through the cracks, and ultimately all those things that the dean talked about our reputation and the image we put out, sort of falls flat. So it's really for your benefit. But yeah, understanding that, there's a little flexibility there. So all of this is posted online. If you go into www.etsu.edu/pharmacy under student services or current students, you can find the student handbook. And at the very end of the student handbook is a section called Professionalism and the Honor Code. And this is sort of where my committee comes in. And this is the not so fun portion of the presentation. So we're going to talk through what are the expectations and what happens if you don't meet the expectations. The reason we do this up front is so that there's no question. I know it's not fun to look at like the bad, at what could go wrong. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things we have to do at orientation. So we're kind of go through this. The honor code is short. It's simple. So here's our expectation, and this is what we would like you to follow. Pharmacy students at the Gatton College of Pharmacy shall not lie, cheat, steal, or engage in unprofessional behavior. And we defined unprofessional behavior earlier when the students were here, and you all kind of defined it for yourselves. So I think we're all on the same page there. The honor code applies to learning, research, service activities, social activities sponsored by the college or endorsed by the college, both on campus and off. And it includes classroom, university facilities, clinical affiliates, community settings, and anywhere else where you may engage in professional activities. So it's very widespread and reaching, and it's very simple and straightforward. The scope of the honor code applies to violations of two separate types, academic and non-academic issues. So academic issues are the cheating, plagiarism, academic theft, where you use someone else's work as your own and submit it as your own work, or anything else that would be to make an academic advantage for yourself. So with technology, there's a lot of changing things that you could get through the internet, and so basically it's anything where you would create some sort of advantage among your peers that's unfair. We go into to define all the other violations within the handbook, but your non-academic violations are things like lying, as mentioned in the honor code, inappropriate conduct toward faculty, preceptors, peers, or patients, improper classroom etiquette, attire, any violation of state, local, or federal law, and kind of the like. So it's very wide, sort of broad. And the way we handle unprofessional behavior kind of goes on a scaling basis, and so we'll talk about that here in a second. My committee, the Personal and Professional Development Committee, is charged with maintaining and enforcing the honor code. So we do a session at orientation every year to sort of get you all on board with the expectations. And then our two subcommittees will sort of serve different functions. The students on the subcommittee are involved with development, so they do programming related to how to improve your professionalism or your professional identity. And then the Judiciary Council is the faculty on the committee who see students who are in violation of the honor code. This is important, and the dean touched on it. So what happens if you see a professionalism violation? You do have the duty to report. So we are a self-regulated, I think as a college and as a profession, you have some sort of a self-regulation duty. So if you see something, it's your duty to say something. Not all reports are acted on. We do sort of hold them until after you graduate, just for posterity and for historical reference. But everyone is accountable. It's a across-the-board accountability. And so faculty, staff, students need to be responsible with the expectations laid out in the honor code. And if someone's in violation of those expectations, you need to report it. There's a reporting form, and it's very easy to use. I'll show you this. Everything is confidential, so please know that if you do report something, the only people that will see it is myself and a staff member. If things do progress and we do need to act on it, again, everyone signs confidentiality waivers. And being a reporter, you don't have risk of retaliation against you, but I do ask that you always put your name on it so I can follow up with you if there's a problem. So there's two different options here. Are you reporting a professionalism accolade or a violation? So a good thing or a bad thing? We use the accolades for an award we give at the end of the year for each class, and I'll put a call out for those. So if you see something good, you can nominate or report that as well. But the majority of them are more negative incidents. And so it'll say, you just have to put the name of the student who was in violation. Again, your name. Typing anonymous won't work. Please put your name. If we're all going to be held accountable, we all need to step up and take ownership of it. You have to put your status, the date. We have location of the violation. We give you some categories, and these relate directly to what's in the handbook, what I just talked about, and then ask you to describe it and any action you took. So pretty simple, and that's it. Any questions about the online reporting form? So after reports are brought in, they're reviewed by myself and a staff member, and a lot of times we don't take any action on them. So it may be something as simple as me pulling you aside when I see you in this hall and say, hey, I saw that Facebook post, like, please don't do that. Or, hey, you know, what's going on with the friction between you and ex-classmate? Like, can we try to work on that a little bit? And it'll be more of a development thing. If over time things don't clear up, then that becomes more of a problem, and we follow up in a broader basis that is sort of consistent with the number of violations. So that's where this judicial process comes into play. So I already mentioned here how we review the reports. We'll collect additional information, so I never just go off of one person's word or one incident. We always try to reach out to all involved parties to make sure that people get due process. I think that's really important. And then we follow this sort of pyramid scheme. So if you have a single unprofessional incident, I keep going with social media because that's the one I can think of off the top of my head, but maybe it's, no, let's just go with that. Maybe it's just a really poorly written email, very aggressive email to a faculty member after you don't do well on a test. The intervention there will be informal. So it'll probably be your academic mentor. Maybe it'll be somebody that you're very close with. And it'll probably just be a, hey, you know how this comes off? You know, how else could you have written this to still get your point, but without maybe the negative connotations that came with it? So it's a development piece. Well, maybe you keep sending those emails. Then there's a pattern. The awareness intervention is when you get to meet with myself and or Mr. Ellis as the Assistant Dean of Student Affairs, and we say, hey, you've been talked to. We really need you to stop doing this because X, Y, and Z. It's making you look, it's making you have, maybe it's a negative perception among faculty, among peers. It's going to hold you back. If they continue or things build, then we have an authority intervention. And that's where you get to come before the Judiciary Council, which is all the faculty on the Personal and Professional Development Committee. There's 5 of us, I believe. And you get to talk to us. Trust me, you don't want to do that. It's a very uncomfortable meeting for all of us. If that doesn't happen, if behavior continues, ultimately you'll wind up at a hearing. I should backtrack. The hearing will involve both faculty and a student representative from each class. And that's the very highest level of what can happen. So that's sort of the due process. After you had to, like this authority intervention where you have to come before the committee or above, we make recommendations to the Dean of Sanctions. So here's what we recommend to help this person improve their behavior, or I don't like to say penalty, but it's a way to sort of wake you up to doing better. It's a long scope. This is all outlined in the handbook as well. So it can be a warning, and those are usually more low-level things. Sometimes it's a first offense. You can be put on probation, where you have to step out of the program for a given length of time to correct whatever action it is before returning. Loss of privilege could be a loss of a leadership position. Maybe it's loss of funding to go to a conference. Restitution would be when you have to pay the college due to damages. Discretionary sanctions are very broad. Some examples of discretionary sanctions: we've had students read books, we've had students complete community service hours, had students have like weekly evaluations on rotation, so preceptors can really monitor behavior very, very closely. So they sort of depend on the violation that brought the student to the committee, and then all the way up to suspension and dismissal, which hopefully we don't get to that point. I will say too, if you notice in the pyramid, there's this sidebar that says mandated issues. So depending on the severity or the egregiousness of the professionalism violation, you might skip some of those earlier steps. So if you show up, for example, to a conference drunk or with alcohol, and make inappropriate comments to, I'm just making this all up, make inappropriate comments to a dean of another college of pharmacy, say awful things about the program, you're probably going to be pretty far up that pyramid very, very quickly. That's very egregious. If you threaten another student, if you, please don't make me give example, just the worse the behavior, the higher up it goes. Any questions about the sanctions or the judiciary process? There's additional process that's required. So anytime a student comes before our committee for either at a level with the level 2 or level 3, they are automatically placed on a 6-month probation where you have to meet with your faculty mentor to talk about your professionalism, your behavior, your attitude, and how you're improving it. If your performance is satisfactory, you'll be removed from probation. If it's not, we can elect to continue on and potentially have additional sanctions if things are not going well. As I mentioned before, we make recommendations to the dean who ultimately approves or denies those, but our purview does not go into courses. So if you come to my committee because you submit plagiarized work, I can't recommend that you fail that course. My committee cannot recommend that you fail that course. That's at the purview of the faculty member. Some students come to our committee after failing rotation for professionalism issues. So maybe you don't show up on time, you don't seem to care on rounds, you make recommendations that could endanger the patient. If you fail a rotation, that's actually a course issue and a professionalism issue. And they'll talk to you about what happens if you have a didactic or a course failure in a future day, but you can go to both committees. We remediate performance-related issues. Okay. Questions? Okay. So what I'm going to have you sign next is just an acknowledgement that you've been introduced to the honor code, that you've received it. We keep these on file. Christian, can you pass these to your section? I'll pass these to your section. I'll pass these to your section. So please make sure to fill it out legibly. Basically, it's just an acknowledgement that asks you to attest that you have been instructed about the honor code, that you understand the details of it, and that you'll adhere to it and understand what happens if you do not adhere to it. And then I'll need to collect that from everybody back here at the end of the session. We always update you if there's any changes to the handbook or to our process, because it's transparency. Trying to think what else. What else did I forget to tell you? Everybody got one? If you want to just, once you're done, if you guys want to pass them back. You pass them. If you pass it to the aisles and then pass them up as soon as you're done, we'll kind of collect them at the front here. Thank you. I got everybody's. Oh, thanks. Okay. If you think of anything else, please let me know. It's pretty straightforward. I don't like coming in and being the bad guy. Bad guy day one of class, but that was the slot I got. Okay. Last couple of things. What do we learn? Be professional, right? Yes. So as a professional, you're held to a higher standard. It just comes with the territory. You have professionalism applies to a lot of different scenarios, both in the classroom and out. You have a duty to report, so it's a duty to hold each other accountable. And accountability goes both ways, so you need to hold me accountable as well, or any other faculty and staff member, and I would expect that from you, because in a couple of years, in 4 years, we're colleagues. So accountability goes both ways. Professionalism violations are viewed at the same level as our academic standards, so we're really proud of our product. And just like I want to make sure that everyone who goes through the program is able to perform at the highest level of their license because of their academic strength, honestly, the professionalism of what people see first. And that's what makes our students special, and that's what I'm proud of. I don't care if you get a 4-point. I should probably pause that. The 4-point doesn't matter. I'll hire somebody off of professionalism and attitude and work ethic every day. Like, give me a strong 3.3, 3.5 with a work ethic. That's what gets you in the door. That's what matters. Learn your material, be a great student, but this is so important and underappreciated, I think, a lot of times. And if you're ever unsure, just consider what the dean would think or do or say. Find somebody who you trust as sort of like a beacon of professionalism, and who do you sort of see as a great example and try to emulate that. Unfortunately, this is going to be the last time we talk about professionalism this week. To this extent, absolutely, but it probably is going to come up a couple more times. So just so you're aware, I'm going to give you a preview of where it might come up again. During the white coat ceremony, professionalism comes up in the oath, so you'll hear it there. The dean already spoke to you. Tomorrow, Student Affairs is going to talk, and they probably will bring up appearance standards again. So if you have questions about attire or appearance, make sure to ask then. That's all in the handbook, but it might be good to know. Academic Affairs, we'll talk about academic integrity and cheating, especially when it comes to testing. And we have test-taking software, and so they'll briefly touch on it then. Experiential, we'll talk about expectations when you're on rotation, as well as specific attire that you wear when you're outside the walls of the college. And then the student organization leaders will also kind of talk about the importance of involvement as an element of professionalism. So the conversation really doesn't end here. And then throughout the fall in the CPOP course, which is Contemporary Practice of Pharmacy, a lot of what you do there is really meant to develop you as a person, ultimately moving into your role as a pharmacist, a future pharmacist. Okay? Got some action items. It's never good to spend a whole afternoon without leaving with some action items. Otherwise, it's like, well, what did we just do? So, things to do. I need you to clean up your social media accounts. I need you to set the goal to get involved. So, it's another one of those underappreciated things, but involvement is what's going to make friends for you. It's going to allow you to practice what you learn in the classroom. It will pay dividends. Find somewhere to get involved. Okay? It's another thing. I'll take an involved student any day. Get to know and utilize your faculty mentors. You guys haven't been assigned to us lately or yet. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but that will be coming soon. Your faculty mentors are great resources. I love mentoring students. That's the best part of my job. So utilize us. And then just kind of reflect after leaving. What do you want to see? What kind of image do you want to portray? And how do you get there? Any last things? Any last questions about other stuff in your folders that I can attempt to answer before you leave today? Yes, sir. Yeah, the lectures, so at the very bottom of that Tetris style schedule, it shows where you'll be. So you guys are always in 107. It's the third line. It says all classes and exam are in building 7, room 107. So you guys will always be in here. And in the spring too, I'm guessing. And then any time it deviates from that, so like your lab on Monday afternoons, it'll specifically say at the bottom of that schedule where they're located. The gray boxes for IPPE and that dark blue box on Thursday afternoons, those are outline or they're exceptions to the rule. So those are scheduled different places depending on what they are, and that will all be in a separate schedule. So if you don't have one now, I would strongly recommend you get a planner, because it gets real complicated real fast, and we start quickly. So the big difference between undergrad and pharmacy school is pace. Stuff moves very, very quickly. So find yourself a planner, get yourself a process so you know where you need to be when and what you got to wear. Because it's just a little more complicated than it probably was last year for you. You can use your phone. A lot of people carry paper planners. It just helps you, whatever works to keep up with things. Did that answer your question? Okay. Yes?
The student health records waiver, is that something that we need to do today?
All the waivers, if you have anything with health records, with scholarship stuff, tomorrow's Student Affairs will be here in the morning. That's a lot of things that's in their office. So if there's any paperwork in your folders, I would try to bring it back tomorrow morning if you can. If it's like vaccination records or if you need like titers or anything like that, obviously, I don't know if you'd be able to get those tonight, so just as you can. But if it's anything to sign, just sign it and bring it back tomorrow.
And do our parking passes need to be put on our cars today, like tonight?
Do you guys all get your parking passes today?
I think.
Usually they give you a little bit of buffer. They understand that we've got a little bit of changeover. Just make sure you read the fine print of where it goes, because they are kind of sticklers once class starts. So the placement, the location, I try to get it by the end of the week. I bet this week they'll be pretty flexible. Hopefully it's cooler in here tomorrow. Otherwise, we can wear men with their suit jackets, ladies with their suit jackets. You guys are roasting. You're making me sweat. All right. Well, I will see you Thursday, I think. But it's nice getting to know all of you, and thanks for hanging in there this afternoon.